There are moments in leadership where you realize something very, very clearly. The problem might not be talent, it might not be motivation. Maybe the problem is access. I have met extraordinary people over the years. They're smart, they're capable, they're driven, and they're deeply committed. And I've watched them stall, second guess themselves, have the imposter syndrome, or just quietly burn out. And it's not because they lacked that potential, but because they never had access to the tools, the language, or the mental frameworks and resets that many leaders actually have and take for granted. This episode exists because of that gap. And it also exists because this week, thousands of podcasters around the world are doing something very special and rare. They're using their voice for something bigger than just content. Welcome to the Neuro Leadership Edge. I'm Claire Hayek. I'm a neuro leadership expert, TEDx speaker, founder of Mind, Soul, Purpose Teambuilding, and my work focuses on one thing. Pressure breaks leadership and team performance. We all know that. And I designed the systems that actually prevent it. This show is about what actually happens in your brain when the stakes are high and how to stay clear, anchored, grounded, and effective and lead and show up with calm authority, no matter what. This episode is a little different. The Neuro Leadership Edge is very happy to participate in the 4th edition of Podcasthon. For 1 week, thousands of podcasts around the world are releasing special episodes to highlight a charity or initiative they care deeply about. This is a coordinated global effort. It's very exciting. We're not really fundraising. There's no transactions happening. It's just simply awareness, storytelling, and pure impact. Podcasthon exists because traditional ways of supporting causes often reach the same small circles again and again. And podcasting, well, it does something different, as you already know. It reaches people quietly, whether you're listening to it in cars or you're taking a walk and listening. Maybe you're just taking time off in moments of reflection and you go on the podcast of your choice and listen to something inspiring. It builds trust through voice. And this year I chose to dedicate this episode to an initiative that sits at the core of my work and my values, the program Leadership for All. I did not grow up with my whole future mapped out for me. I didn't have a roadmap. Let me just take you back. So I grew up literally in uncertainty. I learned early what pressure feels like in the body, literally, what it feels like when safety feels just like a temporary thing. It's not part of your day-to-day. When decisions matter earlier than they should. And I'll elaborate a little more on that. I grew up in Beirut, Lebanon, during the civil war. And I'll tell you one thing, that experience as a child shaped who I am today. I constantly, myself, as well as my sisters and my family, we constantly lived in uncertainty. We didn't know when we had to run for our life. At any moment, we would hear news that, brace for yourselves, you have to run to the shelter because, they're anticipating some attack of some sort. When you're a child, you don't quite understand what's happening, but you can watch people around you and see how this is affecting your environment. And so your nervous system adapts to it. And this kind of becomes normal. It becomes your day-to-day. And I have to say that as a war child, and I'm sure a lot of war children out there, or people that have lived through the war, whether you're a parent or a child, no matter what your age was at the time, it does shape you in one way or another, and it does build resilience. It gives you that ability to buffer in the pressure and reset and turn it into something that's going to serve you and help you. I mean, that's the only way to turn this experience into something that you can grow from. Because otherwise, what other choice do you have? I mean, you got to work through your trauma. You got to face the fact that this has affected you in a way. It's not about pretending it didn't exist. It's actually quite the opposite. But I don't want to linger on that. Let me continue with my story. And again, I'm very open. If any of you want to share your stories or comment, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. I think it's very important to talk about these things. Well, then let's fast forward. We moved to Montreal in Canada. And of course, there was the land where, safety existed, social security. We felt safe. We felt like there was hope. We could learn, we could grow, we can have a normal life. And thank God for this. And what I did is, as I went to school later in my career, I chose really to study in engineering. And ironically, I chose an environment that is high pressure. It's engineering, corporate systems. Deadlines were so important. A missed deadline meant millions of dollars that were lost. If you weren't collaborating, working effectively, if you weren't communicating well, if you weren't in your focus grounded and your clear focus, your decisions could be affected again, resulting in a lot of money lost because of mistakes that could be prevented. So regulating under pressure was something that was extremely necessary. And I really wish that people talk more about this, because had I known at the time when I was much younger and working in engineering, actually worked 20 plus years in engineering, had I known how to manage my pressure, how to reset and turn any high pressure, high state situation within seconds into calm authority, then I would have saved myself a lot of trouble and a lot of headache, really. But I am a true believer that life happens for you, and your experiences shapes who you are. And I think I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about all this if I hadn't lived it myself. So absolutely no regrets. Would I have liked it to be different? Absolutely. But you know what? Maybe this is what I needed to go through in order to be here and have a bigger impact, because I have a story to tell, because I lived through this, because I'm walking the talk. So let's look at, quickly my experience in engineering. I took on a lot of leadership roles, a lot of responsibility, managing projects, managing teams, managing people at different levels of the organization, where I needed to be focused, but I needed to be clear-minded. And it was hard to access, like I mentioned. But what I noticed again and again was this. The people who actually performed best under pressure were not the most confident on paper. They were the ones who had probably learned how to regulate themselves internally. They had that internal resilience to snap out of the stress, survival, fight or flight mode and back into their an anchor, grounded, authority, which I call our brain CEO, our prefrontal cortex. I had to grab some water here. So they had probably ways of dealing with it that they had to learn. They were able to express what was happening inside of them. They had tools to recover faster. They had mentors, coaches that they took on coaching, or they had exposure maybe that helped them make sense of pressure rather than fall a victim to it. At the same time, I kept meeting leaders and entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds who were carrying more weight with way fewer tools. They didn't have access to these amazing tools that could really help bring them and help them play at a high level at their potential, their full potential. So these entrepreneurs, they were leading teams, they were building businesses, they're supporting their family, they're holding responsibility. And they were doing it without access to the kind of support many executives quietly rely on. Now, that unfairness and that disconnect really stayed with me. And at a certain point, it stopped feeling acceptable to keep it that way. And this is why I am here talking to you about the Leadership for All program. Leadership for All is simple in concept and very powerful in practice. You all know I'm the founder and CEO of Mind, Soul, Purpose Teambuilding. And at MSP Teambuilding, we work with organizations and leadership teams and executives around the world. When a company chooses to work with us, a portion of that investment directly funds free access to our leadership development programs, which we call Leadership for All. And this is for entrepreneurs, individuals, future leaders, young leaders, and communities who would otherwise never have access to them. This translates into free access to paid webinars, free access to masterclasses, to workshops, free access to leadership tools that are science-based, rooted in neuroscience, and rooted in emotional regulation, clarity under pressure, and human performance. It also means dignity. It's not about framing it as charity. It's really about giving back. Same standards, same quality, and same respect that any of our clients would receive. Therefore, the program is not specifically for underrepresented leaders that don't have access to these tools. They are mixed in with many leaders out there that can afford it and they have access to it. So they get a chance to learn and create a network and get to know leaders that are walking in their shoes, but they have maybe better access to these tools. And this is very important to us. We really wanted to make sure that people felt that they had the same access without feeling small, with a different type of quality for this coaching and these masterclasses. So Leadership for All exists because leadership skills, as we all know, shape lives far beyond our job titles. When someone learns how to regulate their nervous system, their relationships change. They gain clarity under pressure. Their decisions change. When somebody believes they belong in leadership spaces and they, overcome the imposter syndrome, their whole trajectory changes, their whole hope for success changes, how they show up changes, who they're being is completely different. So this program allows our work to ripple outward. Leadership for All program. And we are, as you all know, it's very tough for me to talk about this because I feel it's crazy times. But I'm going to stop there. We are living in a time where pressure is just normal. And I don't find that normal. And I don't know if some of you share this, but we're talking about economic pressure, organizational pressure, identity pressure, and it really affects all ages, especially young leaders, young entrepreneurs, people that are trying to figure out their future. And there's a lot of disruption with everything going on and really moving very fast. I find that leadership is being tested in real time. And when access to leadership development remains kind of out of the way, limited to, and focused, or that access is focused and limited to certain rooms with certain budgets or certain profiles. Well, we reinforce a system that is basically excluding voices that we need to be part of the conversation. And Leadership for All is our way of interrupting that pattern, that misaligned pattern. It says leadership development belongs to people, not just organizations. It brings it back to young leaders, any leaders at any level. It says also that mental fitness belongs to everyone who carries responsibility. It says impact multiplies when access to these tools is available to everyone, and this access expands. As you may know or may not know, our work has been recognized through multiple awards like the WeBe Canada Rising Star Award, the CCICL Innovation and Technology Award. We are also recognized by Cisco for the Resilience Award as a supplier, as a diverse supplier. So we really worked hard and I believe that these recognitions matter. But what matters more is the quiet shift that happens when someone realizes they are capable of more. They are capable of more than survival. They are capable of more than the limits that they set for themselves. When people also realize that they were self-sabotaging, that they don't necessarily have been running their life and taking control of their life because their brain is running the show under survival, under fight or flight. So this episode is part of Podcasthon because Podcasthon reminds us that awareness itself is an act of leadership. When you use your voice intentionally, it really truly matters. Listening intentionally matters. Sharing stories that resonate, that widen access matters. Now, if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to learn more about Leadership for All program through Mind, Soul, Purpose Teambuilding at mspteambuilding.ca. And you can also reach out to me at clairehayek.com. If you're listening to this on audio, you can also reach me and all my links, all my socials under my Linktree link. And if you're watching this on video, you'll see a QR code here that you could have access to all these tools and all these websites. It's all listed there. Please do scan the code and reach out. And I really, truly invite you to explore the broader Podcasthon initiative. I mean, it's amazing what this initiative is doing. And this is the 4th edition, basically. I would like to encourage you to follow the show, the Neuro Leadership Edge podcast, and share this episode with anybody that you know that might benefit from our services. And most importantly, they value what this Leadership for All program is doing. And for any other information, again, you can reach out to me personally. I'll leave my email as well, claire@mspteambuilding.ca, or please do connect with me on LinkedIn. So do follow, share this episode and this podcast. And as always, we are here weekly and we got tons of value to add. But if you enjoyed this episode, specifically the whole Podcasthon initiative, please feel free to visit podcasthon.org. That's podcasthon.org. So you can discover many other charities through the voices and talents of incredible podcasters around the world. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for caring. And thank you for being part of leadership that reaches further. Lead boldly, stay human, and turn every challenge into a gift. And I will see you